Good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to introduce the Stallion Committee that's started again. It has been been slow for a couple of years, but a few of the Stallion owners have decided to get together and that we organize some items where we're going to focus on. So I'd like to introduce the committee, and we'll start with Wim Casimir. Jan Christus. Megan Owen. And Liz van Woerden, she's on the committee. And as secretary we have Anna Biel. And Erin Duffy, but she's not available today, she will be here tomorrow. And then myself. So we have grouped these members up in each discipline. So for the dressage and the horses and the gelders horses, we have Megan Owen and myself. For the harness horses is Wim Casimir and Erin Duffy. And for the jumping is Jens Richter and Anna Biel. Yeah, and our focus is for this coming year to the NA SST test is something that the KWPN has joined, what we just heard from Wim, and they're excited about it. We ourselves have been involved in it for the last couple of years with stallions, and I feel that it is a program that has a great chance of survival in this country. Yeah, it's very hard to what we had before, the 100-day test and 60-day test, and each association organizing their own test, and it becomes too expensive and also unpractical. This NA SST test, I think, has the potential of being very successful, also keep the organizations working together, and that we here in the United States have kind of a line where the evaluation is comparable with all other associations. Yeah, so the other thing we like to work on and develop is the Stallion Service Auction. Obviously we all seen and heard that it was very successful, and we're thankful for the ones who have put it all together. At the same time, I think we need to keep in mind that we need to promote the stallions that are part of the KWPN and stallions that can improve the breeding program for our breeders. So we'll be focusing on that a little bit for the Stallion Service Auction for next year. Then we like to work a little bit on the IBOP and the DG Bar Cup, and the GES Cup, so that maybe we get a little bit more participation in that and the value of those tests, especially for the young horses and breeders, smaller breeders, to promote selling a horse. You have the ability to show a younger horse with maybe not as much training to go to a horse show, but you can show them in an environment that the horse gets evaluated by the same judges throughout the country, and that you can compare your horse in the same age group, and that your horse is evaluated not so much only on the technical aspect, but more on the natural ability. So with this amount of input and training and everything, you still can get very good promotion for your horse, and that is something that I think could be used more, and so that's where we will try to work on, and that is the same as the Global Equine Sires Cup. It was started with the free jumping, but we like to see that it develops more into horses under saddle, and that it becomes more comparable in age group with the DG Bar Cup, and that these horses also will be presented under saddle. So those are the tasks that we like to work on this coming year, and also we'll try to get a little bit more advertising going from the KWPN, KWPN Stallion Show. So that is most important things we like to work on. Education is of course always part of each committee, I think, and later on today we'll try to share a little bit our ideas, what we do in selecting a stallion, and we just hope that we're going to get some feedback from you as breeders what kind of tools you use and what your ideas are in selecting a stallion, or what kind of mare you like. So, but that is for later on in the program, I think. So if anybody has any questions about this committee or for any of the committee members, we can do it right now, I think, and otherwise later on. Okay, well, thank you for your attention, and then later on we'll go further with selecting the stallion. Okay, thank you. What we did with this committee, it's just starting. We only had a couple meetings, but I sent each one of us an email and asked them what, for them, each personal, their criteria is, what they use, what tools they use, and of course, there are many tools that we all use. Yeah, tools that we all use, the indexes, the sport results and stuff, but each person usually has his own personal criteria, so that's what we...
Sorry, it's going on.
So that's why... that's why we just asked everybody to give some criteria, what they use, yeah, besides the indexes and the sport results that, yeah, so, and
connector.
I'd like to start with some of the criteria that I use, and that is, when you as a breeder start, you first have to ask yourself, what's the purpose of your foal? Yeah, is it what is your goal? Is it for a professional? Is it for an amateur? Yeah. Then, are you want to keep the foal? Are you selling the foal? Yeah. Are you developing your mare line? So these are all criteria that are important to your stallion choice. Yeah. And you have your amateur market, your professional market. Yeah. So that's very important. So I asked also Wim, and so Wim, if you want to come forward and explain. Wim was very important. He said it's the name, what a mare line really is. Yeah.
Go a little higher, Bill. Yeah, for me as a breeder, I like. I'm not just looking at the mare itself. I want to see some more information from the mother, the grandmother, maybe if available. That tells me a lot more. If I know anything about the history, have they done anything in sport? Have they done anything good in performance testing? A thing was also in our, if I just go refer to the Dutch harness horses, we have a little bit of an issue with the gene pool because of our small population. So genetics, spreading the broad lines a little bit. So I'm looking towards that too. We are, what is a problem in our breed? Popular stallions are being used a lot, have a lot of influence. So we see in our pedigrees, for example, a lot of Mano, a lot of Renovo, and it's very good blood, but it has to stop sometimes. You need to find something, an outcross, to keep the breed sound and for the future. So that's for me also important. And since I moved here to the US, it gave me as a breeder a little bit more freedom to look around for other stallions. And for example, last year I bred one of my better mares to a saddlebred stallion. To find new genetics, but also we know we have some information about saddlebreds. They always look at the front end. So in a Dutch horse, and I think we all like that from the back in the days too. In any breed, we like a strong hind leg and a good powerful hind leg, and that is especially needed in the harness horses, because we only kind of breed only for one gait. Of course, we don't want to forget about the walk, but our biggest goal is a big natural show trot. So that is moving here to the US for my harness breeding program also gives me some new options to find some new stallions, a new pedigree. So, but also I like to see the stallions myself. I like to have them. I booked a horse last year. I booked 2 mares to a stallion, but I saw in a video, and a month later I saw the horse in person, and yeah, I decided the one mare I booked to the stallion. I thought that's going to work, but I had to change my mind on the other to use them on the other mare because the stallion was for me too refined for that mare. So, but that's for me a kind of a thing, very important. See the horse in person, if possible. I mean, a video can tell you a lot, and of course, you know, if you go to Holland, you go to the stallion show, and you know, I would definitely say, you know, go to the warm-up ring, or you see a lot there, more than in the main ring. So that yeah, for me, that's pretty much what I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, and we like pretty soon members also to share their experiences and their criteria. So so I'll have to ask, like to ask Megan to come up.
Oh, Megan Owen.
Oh no, not Megan. Yeah, Megan. Yeah. 2 Megans. Yeah.
Well, the Megan with the age knows a lot, so she may be the person to ask. I breed gelders, so I love dressage. I'm terrified of jumping, and I don't know how to do combined driving. Although someday I would love to learn how to do it. So I figured out a long time ago that Anki wasn't going to come to my farm to buy a dressage horse from me ever. So my market it's an adult amateur, and so for me, what I'm looking for is brains. I really want horses that are sensible and want to work and want to be engaged, and those are the things that I'm really looking for in my breeding program. That's like first and foremost, and then of course some substance and good moving and long-term soundness. So with gelders, I feel like predominantly they're all pretty good movers. They have a lot up in front and a very active hind end. They tend to be more substantial in build than the modern dressage horses. And I think for the lines that we have a little bit the same issue that William was talking about. We have a limited gene pool. So I will look at I'll look at German stallions, and I'll go back as far as I can, 5-6 generations, and I want to see, I already know what the genotype is, but I want to see what the phenotype is out of those mares and stallions, making sure that they're sticking with the type, since I can't necessarily meet a percentage qualification every time. And it's worked out pretty well so far. What I really like about my horses, when people ask me, it's like they are all around. I will be here. We've been here for a week. We will be here for 10 days, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to saddle up my horse and have a lesson, and it's not going to be an issue. It's not like I'm going to have had to get her back into it and really lunge her or any of those kinds of things. It's like we pick up where we left off every time, and that's really what I appreciate. And the foals are sensible. One of the things that's really great that I've gotten great feedback on from all of the vets I use is that they're born broke. They're really willing. They stand still for X-rays. They do flexions. They do all these things, and they behave really well. And so that's really what I'm looking for when I'm breeding and selecting stallions.
Thank you. So, and you can have a question now, or pretty soon. Yeah. So you have a question? Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to know, when she sells her foals, are people asking for, as a breeder, we wind up, they want this fancy, this stallion that everybody talks about, and they don't even know anything. With the gelders, those stallions that you use, are your buyers looking for certain offspring, or how do they?
Interestingly enough, they are you know, I sell them, or I get referred, another breeder refers to somebody who's looking for something specific, and I have it, and they'll call me, and I find I end up educating them about what gelders is and what those lines mean and where they come from, and many of our country's top horses have gelders blood in them, and you know, if I refer to some of those horses, and then they go, oh, okay, and then they come out and then they meet them, and they can see their dams there usually, and meet them, and they sell themselves.
So there will be the latest stallion on the block.
We're getting a lot of really good gelder stallions in the United States now. Scott has brought in Flores, and he has one that's going through the approval process now. That'll be pretty exciting. Chelsea Sibley has her stallion that she just got approved or erkined, and he's already a Grand Prix horse with many wins. So there's a lot of opportunities that didn't exist before. And Mackenzie's here, yeah.
And he'll actually do an IVOP tomorrow, so you'll see Mackenzie. He's an approved gelders stallion from Holland.
Really brought one up.
Yeah, and Willie's Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah, so some of the other criteria I wrote down as well that I use is that the weakest points in a mare, should not stand in the way of the purpose of the foal. A lot of times we all look at what needs to get better and all that stuff. So, but if you have points in your mare that stand in the way of the purpose of your foal, then you can pretty much count on it that the mare is only going to pass its good things on too, but also the bad traits. So if you eliminate the traits that you say, those I definitely don't want, or those are not going to be good for my foal's future, then you should reconsider a different mare. You can pick a stallion, but you also need to look at your mare. And what I always do too is that instead of you often hear that breed opposite to opposite, I like to see more breed strong points to strong points. And that way you emphasize that, and you get a better foal. And the weak points should not be a problem, and of course the weak points you like to compensate for, but especially also focus on the strong points in your mare line, and the strong points in the stallion. So, and then maybe Jens wants to come, and Jens had also some ideas and things he follows.
Yeah, hello. I'm the one Paul referred to as the German. I don't know how he found out, because I have no accent at all. So, anyways, here I am. In Germany, we usually say, when you breed, you have to think in generations, and also think about your mare line you have, and also think ahead what you want to have in 3 generations from now. Sometimes it's nice to buy a really, really good mare already that has been really proven bloodlines, even if she is a little bit, like 10 or 11, and get some nice foals out of it and start your breeding program that way. And then just try to get a filly, and hopefully you can keep the filly, and just produce modern horses if you can. So that's what I always say. Keep the breeding modern, and choose some stallions, they are proven and produce really nice foals already, and produce a nice horse. The other thing is that American market and the European market is different. So in the European market is more like, who chooses the first best stallion that's approved, and then sell the foal to a stallion person that tries to have then the first crop as a 2-year-old, and come out, with a nice 2-year-old or 3-year-old stallion at the approvals. And it's like a little stock market, what you don't have here in the United States. So if you don't sell them as a foal, or yearling is usually hard to sell. If you don't sell them, then better be prepared to have them as a riding horse, and make sure that is a really good riding horse, because that's the only way then you will market your horse if you want to sell it. And that's sometimes a problem if you try to breed with the younger stallion in Europe, and try to get it here, and it's unproven, and maybe it doesn't even make it to the process of the stallion testing, and then you're stuck here with a horse that's a little bit unknown stallion. And that's why I always say try to use some 5-6-year-olds. They already been, you know, doing their stallion testing that they done, and then you can, you know, focus on their pedigree and their performance, and hopefully they will go up to Grand Prix and maybe even international sports, and then you might have a nice filly that you will keep. So that's kind of like how I think about the two different markets, yeah, so
Yeah, so we hear all different criteria and different reasons and thoughts about it. So I'd like to open up the questions here, or stories or ideas that you all use. You are all breeders and you select stallions already for many years. So we should share each other's ideas and criteria you use, and where you've been happy with and what has been disappointing. So I don't know who wants to start. Okay, go ahead.
I have a question. If you have a stallion that is an American stallion and then it gets approved for KWPN, what requirements does that stallion have? Do they have their same crop requirements, their endoscope? Should they have the same requirements to be approved KWPN or is it just if they're approved in their registry?
No, I think, but I mean, Ralph can probably answer that better, but I think if they're Kent, and they're Kent because of their performance and all of a sudden they have certain requirements, but I think it's different than when you're a young stallion. So, but I don't know exactly, so maybe Ralph, can you answer the question?
Most of the requirements are the same, but when it's
The question was if Kent stallions have to have the same requirements as normal KWPN stallions, do they?
Mostly the most requirements are the same, but because a Kent stallion has already been in sports on the Grand Prix level for a long time, there can be some requirements that's not taken in of the consideration. But normally it's all the same. You need the DOC predicate, you need the X-rays. That's still the same.
The only thing 9 out of 10 times that we don't do is the semen report, because a lot of times they already have produced a lot of offspring.
Yeah.
Okay, now we know it functions, yeah?
And do we have access to any of that information of other registries?
No. Of other registries, you mean? No, we don't.
Those are airgun stallions, not stallions from other, that are from airgun stud books. It's a difference.
Individually American is different than an American stud book. So
Oh, yeah.
individually American stallions have gone through the stuff with the Dutch. It's the ones from other registries that are just from like Uno Don Diego is from an American, a stud book, so he didn't have to do anything. But Florianus was approved, but he had to do everything. He had to do the X-rays, the scoping. He didn't do semen tests because he had a lot of babies, but that's it.
So in the end, if you go to like the German registries and you look online, you can find their health requirements for stallions. You can see what they need to do to be approved. But it's sometimes different than what they need to do.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I believe if the African stallion has made it to the top 20 in the world for the WBFSH, I think, don't they no longer have to fulfill?
No, that's true, yeah.
Yes, because it happened to us with the Litter Away, for
Okay.
example. The one thing I would want to mention to other breeders is that just the most important thing is never to double up on the same falls. Never have the same mare and the same stallion have the same fall. When it goes have long backs, you don't want to breed, that, or long pasterns, just natural reactions. Would you agree?
Yeah, I tell you, why would you double up on the weak points, but at the same time, you should double up on the good points, and not that you just weigh off the good and the bad. Because then you kind of stir the pot a little bit, but yeah, I think the weak points are just as important to look at than the strong points.
Scott, What are your thoughts on selecting a stallion for your mare base?
Have a few. Come up here.
Would you share them with us, Scott? Would you please come up?
The short answer is, I have a really clear vision in my head of what I want to be producing. And all of that vision, I'm adjusting it constantly and changing it. But still a vision that I have, and I revisit that vision every year before making breeding decisions. And I separate the obvious stuff, the faults of the mare, the strengths of the mare, et cetera, et cetera. But I separate stallions into three categories. Are they a stallion of the past? They're going to take my breeding program backwards. Are they a stallion that's going to maintain my breeding program? Or is it a stallion that's going to take me to the future? And I only pick future stallions. So a stallion maybe 3 years ago might have been a future stallion for me, but I look at it now and I think he's no longer a future stallion. So it's completely an evolution for me, and I have specific things I'm always working on, but as Jens said, it's about generations for me. And it's the future of my program in particular. I don't really care what the KWPN is doing. I appreciate the system, but just because of the stallions they select doesn't mean I'm going to select the same stallion. It's the future of my program, not anybody else's.
No, I think that is very clear, and I think that as a breeder, if you don't have your own vision, yeah, then after a while you're going to be just totally off on the wrong path because you try to follow everybody's idea and you can't. You know, you have to use all the information, but you have your plan and your goals in order to be a breeder, and otherwise it becomes more producing horses. Yeah, but if you're a breeder, that you really have a vision what you try to create, and then it becomes also fun, and then it becomes kind of a thing that you not just do, you know, something you learn and you grow into. Yeah.
And you make mistakes. You make mistakes on the end too. You will.
So maybe Josh, you're a younger starter breeder, so what are your thoughts of how you got started?
Before Josh, sorry to interrupt. What Nancy just said, I see a lot of horses. More than a lot of Americans. I go to Holland all of the time. I go to the first ring every year and I sit there and I watch every single horse go. I think when we say how do you see the future, I see the past and I see the present really clearly. Because of all the horses I see, I know how I want to move beyond that becomes the future.
Because you also see the bad things in some horse lines, they're not even selected anymore, and then when people only watch the approvals with selected horses, that's the creme de la creme.
One year, but then
Yes.
they're not selected the next year, and you find out why they didn't select more the next year. I mean, things like that. Sorry, Josh.
Okay, Josh.
I would say for my program, we have what has ended up being a lot of mares fairly quickly. So I kind of set a different goal in that I try to breed my mares so that I kind of have a marketable crop of foals. So I kind of look at my mares and I write a list of all of them. And I look at, okay, can we breed like 4 foals that I might want to ride that would be hot, athletic professional horses, and I can sell a couple of those and keep a couple. And then can I breed some that are kind of more middle of the line, could kind of fall either way, and then some that are also really amateur friendly. So I've kind of been trying to really breed marketable full crops, so have kind of a variety of options.
And I'm just gonna throw out there, if you want to learn more about Josh, listen to the podcast. Yes.
Okay, anybody has more idea? Okay, go ahead.
Just question, so like, because Karen and I were just talking about United Touch, so like, what are overall feelings when you guys are choosing stallions, about stallions that have doubled up? Like, he's doubled up very close, but like, how much, would you choose a stallion that's got a lot of like inbreeding, or would you steer clear of that, or are there certain stallions that you say if it's far enough back, we're okay, or
certain lines you wouldn't double up on?
Are you talking about
Line
United
reading?
Touch?
Yeah.
Well, like something like that, like
Okay,
he's
well,
got.
for example, he's line bred,
Yeah,
right?
very.
So, and he has a big thing what they need to work on that horse at home.
Yeah.
If he's not in 115%, he's not gonna jump as what he showed now lately. Because he needs to be supple, and really, top shape before they take him, and then he can do everything. Yeah. But that's, also, they line bred that horse with, classic trust behind it. And, that is something, what is good, you got double the genetics, but also you get double the genetics what you have to work with now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, but like, as people who are choosing stallions, like, would you choose a stallion that has a lot of close in or line breeding, or would you steer clear of that, or would it depend on that stallion? And your mare?
I think in a third generation and stuff, it's no problem really to double up on certain traits you want to improve in your horse, and if it's a nice stallion that fits and it has maybe that in the back, it's not that bad. I wouldn't do a full sister pairing really, in a way. So, I mean, they did that before with Ratina, they did full siblings and stuff, and the horse was very successful. But I don't think a lot of people do it. Third generation, I think it's fine, and you can double up on good things too.
Is United Touch closer than, isn't it within 4 generations, it's inbreeding, and after that it's line breeding? I thought he was by and out of a mare and a stallion with the same sire, is that correct?
No,
Or they have
it was
siblings?
the same, the parents are not siblings.
The parents
With
are
the
not
mother.
Yeah, and
siblings.
then they did full sibling pairing with Latina, and I think it was Rebel Z or something.
Yeah.
So where they did full sibling pairing, and who came out of that one? What
Well,
was it?
wouldn't that be
But
inbreeding, not line breeding?
it is inbreeding, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But that's to the extreme.
In
There's
the
a school at line breeding, but it's all inbreeding, that's it's inbreeding with ours.
in the beef cattle industry is line breeding a lot more popular, and they like it. But I also have a thing that, like say, they do line breeding, and if it didn't work out, they call it inbreeding. And if it works, they call it line breeding. So, and it also in the beef cattle industry, it's a much shorter lifespan, and so it's a lot more forgiving. But yeah, sometimes it works out, But I think in the horse business, I don't think it's a good thing to get started with it, because I don't think it's going to get any foot on the ground to establish something. Yeah, but I think if there's anything that you can say do a little bit in it, it would be in the male line. Yeah, that you bring a stallion back that you had in the male line before and stuff, and that you anchor certain traits that you really like. But yeah, I don't think that it's advisable.
And I think we would see it more with really big time breeders, that they will do it more often. I think it's maybe just some people, they try to experiment a little bit and get something, that works on the end. But also there's probably a lot of they don't work out and they just disappear.
Yeah.
Because with my mare being by El Dorado, who's by Clinton, it's like I'm trying to figure out where that balance of how soon can I do something with Clinton and how far back does it fit in everything.
Right.
So yeah, that's.
But you have plenty of choices with different bloodlines first, and
plenty
then,
other choices.
so,
Interesting.
yeah.
So anybody else likes to add to their philosophy?
So I like what you said about, everybody's gotta look at their goals and what they wanna produce and everything. And I know for my program, I've always looked at, they've gotta have good temperament, and because I don't wanna deal with it, I've dealt with it very young, and I said, no, I don't wanna deal with that kind of horse, nobody does. And good rideability, but also from listening to Nao this morning, they gotta have good feet. Otherwise, you're just gonna spend the expenses down there, and most here, what we sell to is like 90% adult amateurs. So, and everybody knows that full siblings are not alike. We know it from our own brothers and sisters that, you hope to get that combination that you want, but it probably won't. So if you have that, it's gonna go on to do something. It may not be your goal, but it's gonna go on to do something.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be flexible. If you breed a dressage horse and it's maybe not the biggest mover, but it's still a super nice riding horse, maybe it ends up being a nice little hunter for somebody.
Correct.
And you should
I
not
think-
close your eyes and say, you know what, this horse is not a dressage, let's get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
So give it different chances, right? Let it free jump and see what, and that's the beauty of the United States market, is that you have that whole equitation hunter market that you can then promote, and the hunters love well-ridden dressage horses, and with a really nice rhythm and a nice, like canter and flying lead change. So I think that's the way to look at it, and it opens up another market, and don't be afraid of asking your neighbor that's a hunter stable and say, hey, would you mind sitting on this and just riding it and see what you feel about it, and all of a sudden you say, I have a client for this horse, so there's not the end of it if it's not really like going up in the dressage so much. Don't panic, just find a different way. And I had that too, you would like to have a big moving horse, everybody likes to ride, and sometimes it doesn't work out like this and we all make mistakes. But then you find the right niche for the horse, and there's always a buyer for your horse. You just have to find the right way. Even somebody who just wants a really nice horse that's super friendly and pays $40,000-$50,000 for it just to have it at home and ride on somewhere. So they're out there, those people.
I think also the term professional horse and amateur horse is coming more and more together, because there are very few amateurs who just want to sit on a horse that doesn't move well enough, and then there is no professional who says, I want a horse that's difficult. Everybody wants to have a horse that's rideable, has good rideability, really good gaits, a horse that we said earlier that has good conformation, is easy to ride, so it's easy to ride for an amateur, easy to ride for a professional, and so the term as a breeder to say, it's just for an amateur, or the quality, they all want the quality. And we all want rideability, and the professional doesn't want to fight. And a lot of times, especially in this country, you see the combination of trainer and rider, and owner. So they like to have, the trainer likes to have a competitive horse, but it has to be safe. And as a breeder, I think you need to really look at potential, for rideability, gaits, quality of gaits, and go ahead. Yeah.
How much credence do you give to these young horse classes that are becoming so popular with both the dressage and the jumping in your selection process?
Yeah, we are very active in it, and I think it's a very good standard to follow. The FEI Young Horse Program. Whatever the horse needs to do as a 4-year-old, it should be very easy, but manageable and easy to be able to do. Does your horse have to be ready in January to do the 4-year-old test, or in October, November? Makes a big difference, So you got to look at your horse. If your horse is ready, and maybe it's not ready as in the beginning of the year, but he should still be ready to be able to do that at the end of the year. And the 5-year-old should follow those requirements. And then, by the time you have a 7-year-old horse, you have a horse that's ready to go on to do FEI or Prix St. George, or is trained to a certain level. And otherwise, you can stay at home and say, he's still young, and then by the time you find out he's 6 or 7, he's only training level. So by following that training scale, you cannot be asleep at the wheel, and you have to really focus and work at it. But it is a good standard to follow, and then you need to read, in between, if your horse is ready, or for certain reasons, there is a reason why the mare, if you have a mare and she had a fall, and maybe you were not able to ride it, and then you can be a little bit flexible, but I think it's a very good standard to follow.
Is it overly ambitious in its expectation? I mean, I watched young horse jumping class in Colorado this year, and those jumps were huge.
Some horses are ready early, some horses need time. Like my horse is usually not ready with growing until they're 6 years old. So you have to see what the horse is giving you too, right? You cannot just say, every horse is the same and say, 4 years old has to do this and 5-year-old has. You really have to look, and my bloodlines I breed, they're late horses. So, and you have to give them the time, but basically what Willie is saying is like, just see it as a little guideline where they could be when they grow nicely and everything works out. Because some horses even, grow and the legs hurt them from growing so much and stuff, and so you have to make sure that you still keep the guideline in a way to follow, and like Willie said, not to have a 7-year-old that's not even going training level just because, I give him time, right? You have to push it a little bit too, and find the right riders maybe and all those things just to keep up with it. And then when they're 6, 7, not all of them are young horses, you know, for the young horse championships and stuff. Some are just like when they're 6, 7 years old, then you see the rideability, you see it coming together, where they then have, all of a sudden you can ride a nice big trot, right? Because you can ride them nice.
Which platform do you think is better for marketability for a breeder, going up through those young horse programs or just doing training level dressage,
No,
or just doing meter jumpers? Which one?
For a smaller breeder, it would be, the best would be like the Curing, the IBOP and the DG Bar Cup and the GES Cup, pretty soon the Jumping Cup. So, and then they're not judged on the technical riding so much, it's more on the ability. And you have your horse evaluated compared to all other Dutch horses and in the same age group. Yeah, instead of that you go to a training level show and you compete against horses that are 10 years old, yeah, and you have a 4-year-old, yeah, and it also can be different breeds, a different criteria, and the judges can be different, and you can go to a small show, big show, yeah. So that is also a little bit the purpose of those 2 cups that gives breeders the opportunity to show horses with least amount of training. I mean, obviously they have to be ridden well and stuff, but they're not judged just on the technical aspect of it, yeah.
But then past that, after they've done that, then where do you direct? Do you direct it more toward the young horse?
Yeah, I think that you can compare apples to apples. You're in the same age bracket. Yeah, and then you have usually also the judges that are judged those classes all over, yeah, so you have more reliable judges, I think.
I don't agree with your point of view. I think that if you're breeding to sell, it's better to get your baby, after you do the current system, better to get your baby some regional training level dressage shows, because I find that our clients, what the horses did on places and done stuff, they don't care necessarily about the young horse programs. They're looking for their next lower level dressage horse. So for me, I'm always encouraging our horses, get some little shows, get to outings, because once they've gone to a show or 2, people want to buy them. Because, you know, I'm not saying you shouldn't do the young horse stuff, I'm just saying, if you're just looking to get your horses sold, and you want to, you know, and then work with a little hunter, get them to the little hunter shows, because then people know, most people want a safe horse that they know isn't going to be a freak when they take it off the property. And they just want to be able to know they can handle it, get it on and off the trailer safely by themselves, because they don't have a bunch of people helping them. So if you're talking about, what I think you're saying is how do you want to be able to market your horses, how do we?
Yeah, but I think it's depending on the quality of the horse and depending on your purpose, you know, what is everything, you know, it's
Yeah, your
like.
goals, but I mean.
Okay, go ahead.
I just feel like the young horse programs are designed to identify top talent.
That's what
And having had my horses doing it, I mean, I've done the eventing, but I feel like that is the main goal of those programs is to identify the future top talent horses in our industry. And it's not a bad program to participate in. I think your horses can get good exposure and good experience, but you have to go into the grain of salt that your horse might not be able to take the pressure that's required to be at the top in those divisions. So if you have a horse with a wonderful mind and it's got all the movement and they can handle doing that work, that's great, but not, like Jen said, not every horse is gonna be able to follow that pattern.
No.
And if you go to it and you don't succeed with the horse, then what? Then people are gonna be like, oh, well, he went to the stuff and he did really bad. And that's
No, but
negative.
I think you can also just use it as a guideline, like,
That's
it's
right.
not meaning that you need to
Yeah.
go and compete and be the champion, but
Yes.
you can use the training scale
Yeah,
as
the
a
training
guideline.
scale, whatever a horse in the.
Yeah, and go to the, like, you can do, like, young horse show series is, I think, a little more engaged to, like, a grassroots versus the actual
Yeah.
dressage, eventing, and the hunter jumper young horse classes, because those are the classes, in my opinion, that are designed to identify top talent. Versus we look at it and say, oh, it's got an age, and maybe like, oh, that's perfect for our baby horse to get out and get experience, but I don't think so, I don't agree, I think there's two different
Right.
schools of thought.
You have to see two different things are also that you have one, it's the KWPN goals, what they have in their breeding program, and they want to judge apple by apple and see what's out there, where the breeding is going, and you as a breeder can then take their advice and say, okay, and then also you see other horses in your same thing and see where they are. And as a breeder, that, like Scott said, you see a bunch of horses and then you make your own mind up and see which way you want to go, where you lack in your own breeding part. And that's basically the whole discussion is like what you should choose a stallion for and stuff. This is more like this, right? If you're just talking about marketing a horse, there's different avenues to do it, in a way, right? And that's what Megan is saying. You know what? We ride our horses, we bring them out, people see them, they know they're good to go, they can come and buy them and gone they are, and they take them home. But if you're talking about breeding horses and doing the right pairing, you need to go in front of this commission and say, let's judge them, because they have their breeding goals too, and they want to tell you which breeding goal they want to go and which way they want to go. You can still make your own decisions, and like Scott says, you know what, I don't always agree with them, right? But then you have to take your own risk, and most of the time, if you have a good feeling for a stallion and for your mare, it works. And the last avenue is like changing directions and managing your horse yourself, because no organization will help you to manage your horse. It's all about you. And then you have to just, you know.
It occurring last year, I was preparing a jumping horse for the IBOC, and I put him in the jumper competition.
GES Cup, Global Equine Sires. Jens.
That jumping
Anyway, I had him at the, sorry.
Thank you, Jen.
Through some extreme circumstances, we had a hurricane that came through 2 days before the occurring. But we were down there. Unfortunately, I just had a hunter rider on him. I was set up to do the jump shoot with him. We practiced him through the jump shoot, and he did phenomenal. But they wouldn't let him jump shoot when the jury was there. The jury says, oh no, we saw him under saddle.
Yeah.
By then he was exhausted, he wasn't jumping well. They would not let him go through the jump shoot, which he does really well, and he did super good the day before. And so they never really saw what his talent was. They gave him a decent score on his confirmation, but they said, oh, well, he'll jump better under saddle than he did in the jump shoot. And I'm going like, no, he'd only had like about 3 weeks under saddle jumping. And so he jump shooted much better.
Right, the main goal is seeing him.
Well, the jury would not look at him in the jump shoot. They said, we've seen him under saddle.
Because he's a riding horse, and
he's a jumper. I put him through as a jumper.
But
he's a
still
riding horse, a
riding.
jumper, right? That's what they want to see. They want to see the talent. You cannot have a 70-year-old free jumping all the time. They jump nice and good, and then they put a saddle on and you don't see no rideability. They mouthy. That's what, and on the end, the main goal is to get those horses under saddle and jumping, right? And we try to get that more going.
The other comment I might make to breeders is it's really hard to find a trainer that knows how to ride for the young horse stuff. Both in dressage and in jumping, I think.
That's a big issue.
And so that's a big issue for, depending upon what part of the country you're in.
But even Paul says in Europe now too, they have to outsource their riding to like different countries.
So,
They have a
I
hard
don't know
time
if
to
there are
find
any questions or any suggestions that are for this committee to work on for us this year, so Lisa?
Well, it's not a suggestion for that, a recommendation. I think the one thing as breeders we all need to do is keep educated. Educate our eyes all the time, be honest about our mares for ourselves. Maybe go like, Rock was very, he goes to all the stallion competitions. I know when I went to the stallion show, I was amazed at how much I learned. So get yourself out and see what's in the game so you know what people want. I think it's really important there. Yeah, I think it's really important that we get out of our bubble. It's very hard for me, and have to go see things.
Okay. Well, I think if nobody has any more questions or suggestions for us, then I think we're slowly on making it end, and I think the party almost can start. So
It'll start about 6:30. He needs about an hour to set up the bar.
okay.
So they're basically booting us out.
Okay. Well, thanks for your attention, and we'll see you guys a little bit.